Jeff's not, what about, is Luann here?
Now, where are you coming in from? Maui? Is that the latest photos that I saw?
Yeah, Maui, and then, today, Louisiana.
Is that volcano giving you guys any trouble
No,
flying in and out?
no, it's been fine.
It's not an ashy one, is it? It's not like
No,
a.
Like the big cloud that would...
right, yeah, otherwise, yeah, we wouldn't be able to.
Got this.
Is Luann here?
Did you get new glasses?
Not yet.
Man, I'm like hot mic here.
It's very loud.
It's not on yet, so
She's not,
news to me.
I know Jeff is out of town.
Okay, here we go.
No, you're fine.
Luann is online.
Oh, perfect, okay. All right, well, good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to our town council meeting for December 13th, 2022. We do have quorum with Miss Councilwoman Luann Oldman on remote, and Jeff Beach is away this evening. We'll start off, if we please rise for our invocation by Pastor Bill Eason from Fellowship United Methodist Church.
Let us join together in prayer. Almighty, merciful, gracious, and loving God, as we gather now in this place with important work before us, we are reminded that you call us to righteousness and justice. You call us to peace and wholeness. You call us to compassion and mercy. You call us to service and action. Bless now all who gather in this place. Bless this town council meeting that lies before us. Bless those who lead us. Bless our first responders who protect and watch over us. To those who lead, grant the patience of cooperation. For discussions encountered here, will God grant clarity of thought. For decisions made here, grant the courage for truth. Let us be surrounded with your grace as we practice discernment, wisdom, and vision. And this evening we pray for those who suffer during this season leading us to Christmas. We pray for those who find themselves alone, forgotten, or without. We pray for our neighbors in surrounding cities such as Grapevine, who have experienced the devastation of the storms this very morning. Show us how to walk faithfully with them as we lend our support and as we love our neighbors. Keep ever before us the broken places of our lives together, places of despair and disappointment, places of pain and injustice, places of neglect and abuse. Remind us that what divides us pales in comparison to what unites us. Remind us of our love for you and our love for our neighbor. Help us keep our vision and our purpose towards the common good of all people, a vision that benefits our children, our grandchildren, and future generations. Set our heart to beat in rhythm with yours, and blend us with all people of goodwill, both in this place and beyond, as this community stands as a beacon of hope, of peace, and of justice. For this we pray in your holy and precious name. Amen.
Thank you. Now Mayor Pro Tem will lead us in our pledges.
I pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
of
of
the
America,
United States of
to
America,
the republic
and to the
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. I know how to look for our flags.
Oh.
Thank you.
That's embarrassing.
Our first item tonight is a proclamation for Wreaths Across America. A proclamation of the Trophy Club Town Council supporting Wreaths Across America Day, December 17, 2022, in Trophy Club. Whereas on December 13, 2008, the U.S. Congress unanimously voted and declared Wreaths Across America Day to be celebrated annually, and whereas the mission of Wreaths Across America is to remember the fallen, honor those who serve, and teach the next generation about the value of freedom. And whereas each year, Wreaths Across America chooses a new theme to help supporters focus their messaging and outreach in their own communities, and has chosen the theme for 2022 as Find a Way to Serve. And whereas each year this mission is carried on in coordination with the wreath-laying ceremony on a specified Saturday in December at Arlington National Cemetery, as well as cemeteries in all 50 states. And whereas this year at 11 a.m. on December 17, 2022, Trophy Club volunteers will lay wreaths on veteran graves in Medland Cemetery. Now therefore I, Mayor Alicia L. Fleury, in conjunction with the Trophy Club Town Council, do hereby proclaim Wreaths Across America Day, passed and approved by the Trophy Club Town Council this 13th day of December 2022. I make a motion to pass the proclamation as read.
Second.
I have a second. All in favor? And it's unanimous. Thank you. We do have Emily Ladich and Mindy Bone here with us tonight to accept the proclamation. Emily and Mindy are co-chairs with Wreaths Across America, and they have been organizing the laying of wreaths on the graves of veterans in Midland Cemetery since 2019. Is Mindy here tonight? Just Emily? Please come to the podium. I'd like to say a few words, of course.
Oh, absolutely. He never passed up a microphone. I just wanted to thank all of you and the Town of Trophy Club for this proclamation. It really means a lot and really highlights, what we've been doing. You're right, it started in 2019, and I have to say, I pulled out a program that we used before it was colored, and for those that can see it, it's black and white, very short, and I want you to show how much we've upgraded to this year. We have a full map with all the names of our veterans on it, and I have to call out Jill for helping us get this. We now have QR codes to order wreaths, QR codes to find a map of the cemetery, so it's really progressing to a good place. And this is the first time we've talked about this fact. In fact, the committee doesn't even know this, but we need 71 wreaths sponsored every year. And in Trophy Club, we decided to also recognize our police and fire, our first responders. So we have wreaths for them, which makes a total of 73 that need to be sponsored. Well, with the ease of the QR code, I'm happy to tell you that this year we exceeded our goal, and we sponsored 467 wreaths.
Wow.
It's amazing and very humbling. In addition, because we had such an overage, we reached out and released our overage so that they could cover other cemeteries. So we checked with the Dallas National Cemetery. They met their quota. And ours will now be going, our excess will be going to Arlington. Wow. So we're very pleased that that's taking place, all through the generosity of this community. And it's not just Trophy Club, it's South Lake and Colleyville. They all attend. It's amazing to see. So in closing, I'd just like to say, I hope I see you all there on Saturday at 11. I guarantee you won't be disappointed, and Merry Christmas.
Well, Merry Christmas to you, too, and thank you and your committee for all that you do year in and year out, and I'd like to give you this proclamation.
Well, you're walking up there. I would like to point out this is one of the reasons why retired Colonel Emily Ladich, that's full Colonel, by the way, 06 type, was named the Metroport Veteran Association Veteran of the Year this last year. We recognized her at the breakfast on Saturday.
Thank you for your service and all
Thank
of
you. Yeah.
continued service. We appreciate you so much. Okay. Thank you. Anyone else would like to comment? Well, as Emily said, we hope to see you Saturday at 11. It is a great ceremony. It is every year, and hopefully the weather will hold out. But rain or shine, it's going to happen, and I think in years past, it's been freezing, it's been rainy, but it's always standing room only. It really is a nice event, so we hope to see you there on Saturday. Next, we have our business spotlight. We have Mr. Steve Harvey from Pet Bar. And we're super excited to have you guys open and running. I've been seeing a lot of comments on social media. Our residents are already utilizing your services and your memberships and everything, so we can't wait to hear all about it.
Madam Mayor, thank you for the invitation, and council members, thanks for the warm reception. It was about a year ago that I stood before you all, I think it was just after you were announced as mayor, and asked for a special use permit for the business. And since then, it's been a long time, and trust me when I tell you that we're so glad that we're open. I'm glad to be in Trophy Club. This is my wife, Julie. And so she's my silent partner. She runs the business on the back end, and I'm obviously the face of the business.
Silent.
My wife and I moved to Texas in 2016. It took us about 51 years to get here, so we apologize for not being Texans. But we live in Colleyville. We've started a store in Colleyville. It was our first location. It's doing very, very well. And we actually bring our dogs to the Trophy Club Dog Park. And when we've been coming over here, we noticed there's very few services like what we were doing here. So we decided that this would be a great location to bring services. And I cannot tell you, other than when I open the doors and people come in, after I get yelled at for taking a year to open, they're really excited about the service. Like, I had a guy come in, he's shaking his finger at me. This coming soon was on for a year. And I apologize profusely. So I'm a veteran also. I was in the Navy for 13 years. And I spent 24 years in the private sector. I have not always been in the dog business. Julie and I were looking for something to do to kind of exit corporate America. I was a chief information security officer in banking, so some very large banks, HSBC Bank, Banco Santander, Bank of Montreal. So my background isn't in dogs, although now it's been great for the last 2 years. Julie works for a very large company here in Texas that's based here, and we're very excited about the business that we're opening. So, and here in Trophy Club, we've got 2 dogs, Diesel and Callie. They're in the picture on the screen. And then we have 9 grandchildren. We have 4 children, and we're just very, very blessed to be where we are today. Can I have the next slide?
Thank you.
So, a little bit about the pet bar. Dan and Ashley O'Loughlin, it started here in Dallas, and it started about 7 years ago. They were in the tanning business, and then they decided that they needed to get into the grooming business because they lost their groomer. And so they said, well, let's try this. And the first year that they did it, it was terrible because they didn't know what they were doing. It took them a couple of years, and then after about 3 years, they figured out a system and a formula, and it started doing very well. Julie and I met them. We were actually their first franchisees, and we were not looking for dogs specifically, but we started looking at franchising in right around the beginning of COVID, and food did not do well, fitness not so good, and all the other things that we looked at were just not right for us. And when we figured out dogs, now I will say that we moved down here from Chicago. Julie's from Chicago, and we lived in Wisconsin. We love our dogs just as much up there, but our dogs are not in the dog parks in January and February. That's not happening. And we're not allowed to take them in malls like we are down here. So we saw that there was a real interest in pets here as not just pets, but their actual family members. And so when we started talking about this particular business, we were very excited. And like I said, we were their first franchisees. We're doing very well in Colleyville. We've had a great reception here in Trophy Club. We do grooming, we do full service bathing, and what that is you bring me a dirty dog, and about 45 minutes later it's clean. We do self-serve bathing, so if you're ambitious and you want to do it yourself, you can come in and use the same equipment that my staff uses. We have memberships, and the membership thing is a really good deal where you bring your dog in 4 times a month, and for just a little bit more than a single bath, you get to bring your dog to me 4 times a month, and basically every week, and we clean them up. We also have a pet taxi. So in Trophy Club, we run the pet taxi on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And a lot of people work from home, and in that situation, we will come to the house, pick up the dog, bring a dog to the store, make the dog clean, and then bring the dog home. And we'll do that all in probably about an hour or so, depending on if it's getting groomed or if it's getting bathed. Can I get the next slide? I'm not going to read all of those, but some of the things that we do that make us different, we do not crate or kennel dogs. We do not use crate dryers. We do not use heat in our dryers. The air that comes out is warm. It's high velocity, but it's not anything that's going to hurt the dog. We look at crating as one of those things where I've talked with every single owner that's come into my store, and they don't like it. They don't like the whole drop off at 9, pick up at 4 o'clock thing. We don't do that. When your dog, everything in my store is appointment only except for self-service. So when you come in, you can do a self-serve anytime, but everything else is appointment-based. So even a bath is appointment-based. You make an appointment at 10 o'clock for your German Shepherd, and 50 minutes later, the dog's done. We're going to call, we're going to text, and then we've got a policy for pickup between, 45 and 60 minutes, because we have holding rooms. The rooms are 6 feet by 5 feet, and that's where the dog stays by itself. We do not commingle dogs. We do not crate them. We don't use crate dryers. None of those things that are in traditional grooming locations. Talked about the memberships, and as far as grooming are concerned, that also is very, very, very timely. Bring your dog in. Our groomer comes in as early as 7:30, and then she's gone by 4:30 every day. So the early bird people, like my wife, who gets up at 4:30 every day, I'm not that person. I gave all of those days to the military, so now I stay in bed till about 7. But you can drop off as early as 7:30 in the morning and pick up your dog when it's done about an hour to 2 hours later. I'm happy to answer any questions.
What are your hours?
We're open Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. and Saturday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Very good. Well, first, thank you for your service, and as Carl always reminds us to say, thank you for our freedoms. Super happy to have you guys here. I remember from day one, and so everyone was super excited for Free to Open, and I love your humane treatment and all that you do there, and the pet taxi is great. I hate driving with my dogs. And the membership, what I've been reading most is people are really enjoying that membership. Man, get your dog groomed 4 times a month for the cost of one bathing. I think that's probably going to be one of your big.
We have 56 members, and we've been open not even.
That's fabulous. I mean, as you know, we're just very pet-centric community, and so I don't think you could have picked a better place to have this kind of business. I mean, most of our businesses, lunch, dinner, restaurants, stores, you see people and their pets everywhere, especially in your location in Town Center with the Bevan Apartments. I mean, every time I'm walking around outside, I always see people with their dogs everywhere. So I think this is, like you said, a great location for you guys, and super happy that you're opened, and we'd love to welcome you to Trophy Club. Councilman Flynn.
Well, again, let me echo what Mayor Fleury just said. Love the place. We tried the self-serve dog wash routine, and if there's one suggestion, I would say you need a human shower next to that, because it's
Towels.
oh my God. So the dog won out on that one. So now we are looking into the monthly option. So welcome and glad to have you.
Great.
Have you met or been introduced to Susan Estrom? Yeah.
I don't.
She's our dog person in the town. If you have an issue, you give her a buzz.
Okay.
Send me your email address and I'll
Yes, sir.
send you hers.
And Carl.
When I want to invite you, the second Saturday every month, we have a veteran breakfast at Meet You Anywhere, 9 a.m. You need to come tell your story there. So,
I'm happy to.
yeah, drop me an email and
Yes, sir.
get you on schedule.
Thank you. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for
Thanks so
being here, and welcome to Trophy Club, and have
Thank
a
you very
Merry
much.
Christmas.
Appreciate it.
Thank
Merry
you.
Christmas.
Take care.
Okay, next, Chief Arata is going to give us an update on the Citizens Academy that was recently completed.
Mayor, Council, Town Manager Carol, Deputy Chief and I are
Also our
very happy
Deputy Chief, sorry.
to go after our petty friends here, so thank you for that. Chief Wise and I got with Mr. Carroll this year, and we were able to build a program for our citizens to put our 2 academies together. So this was our first annual Citizens Academy, where both police and fire joined together to put our 6-week program, 8 classes, together in October and November, and offered it to our citizens. And we had an outstanding reception to that. We had actually asked people, to wait for the next class, because we did limit it to class size due to some of the events we were planning. and it worked out fantastic. So we do have a short video we're going to play in a second, but it was well attended, well appreciated. We had some really good activities for them, both on the fire side and the police side. We got to go through a shoot house type scenario, a vehicle stop on the police department side, and put them under a little bit of pressure and excitement. So, and then on the fire side,
A lot of hands-on activities.
Yes.
Got to use fire hose, took them in, did some live fire training with them. So everybody had a good time and got to see what it's like to be a public safety officer.
So, no,
We had-
and what we're encouraging people to do is if you're interested in our next class, we haven't set a date yet, but it will be around the same time, October, going into November of next year. We haven't set dates yet, but we will be. So if you are interested, please call Tracy Canerm at the fire department or Julie Schwartz at the police department and get your name on a list. So when we do have time, and we encourage all of you to attend, we'll have that for the next year. We're going to try to make it just a little bit different. We learned a lot during our first one, so it's going to be interesting. So we'd like to play the video.
You in the position of what your first responders are at. Lets you put on their clothing, feel what it's like to hold one of the guns. You go through all types of scenarios.
At a young age, I've always wanted to be in some type of first responder organization.
Got a chance to rescue a cat from the neighbor's house, and I got a chance to time a little bit on the ladder. It was great. Every 9-year-old wants to be a fireman or a policeman, and I'm just a 9-year-old with a big body.
as you can see, I think everybody enjoyed the class, including both of our staffs enjoyed teaching it and participating with it. So thank you again for letting us do that, and we look forward to next year.
Thanks for sharing the video. See a lot of posts on social media with all the pictures, and man, y'all packed a lot into 6 weeks. And so many familiar faces, people from Rotary, Women's Club, former mayor, our very own Councilwoman Oldham, business owners, Parks and Rec Board, boards and commissions, like just in residence. What a great group. And thank you guys so much for putting that together and for joining forces. I think that makes a better experience for everyone. I was lucky enough to do most of the fire academy last time around. Did everyone make it to the top of the ladder? That's probably the scariest thing.
We didn't do the big ladder this year.
Okay, well, just so I made it to the top of the ladder. In heels. No. But no, thank you guys for putting that on. It looked great. And I'm so happy that had so much participation. And like he said, better get your name on the wait list now because it is going to fill up, especially after this video gets out.
That's right.
So.
And we'd like to also thank TCVA for their help through this
Yep,
whole thing.
that's true too. I forgot to mention our volunteer association. I can see them in every picture there too, helping along. So thank you very much to TCVA for being there and helping out as well. Great.
I took pictures at a couple of classes. Never thought I'd say this, but I actually ran into a burning building to warm up. It was so cold.
That was a very cold morning.
Carl.
Maybe next year, First Responder Appreciation Day, when we do that event, it would be nice if we could recognize everybody that's in the class. If timing, it'd be a perfect time to graduate them if that aligned.
Luann, would you like to say a few words since you were there?
Yes, can you hear me all right?
Yes.
It was such an honor, and it was so well orchestrated. All our public safety officers were so personable and just made us feel safe. And I think my favorite part was when I did my ride-along with the police department, Officer Sprouse, Hollywood, and Richardson, just to watch those three, how they support each other, how they made decisions, how they coordinated things. It was just so humbling to see that this is what these guys are doing every day out there. So the fire department, everyone over there, they're no longer just the department. They're Chief Wise, they're our fire marshal, they're all the people that we know over there. There's Tracy. I mean, they all became so personal, and I think that everybody that was in the class knew what a hallmark experience that it was, and we're just so grateful to both the chiefs.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Next, we have public comments. This is an opportunity for citizens to address the council on any matter. The council is not permitted to discuss or take action on any presentations made. Presentations are limited to matters over which the council has authority. Speakers have up to 4 minutes or the time limit determined by the presiding officer. Each speaker must have submitted the request to speak by completing the speaker's form, or they may email mayorandcouncil@trophyclub.org. Do we have anyone signed up this evening? Moving on to our consent agenda, items 4 through 9 are listed under our consent agenda. Is there any item that we need to pull for individual consideration?
I'll make a motion to approve consent agenda items 4 through 9.
Second?
Okay, I have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Lamont and a second by Councilman Monger. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? And that passes. Next up is items 10 and 11. We do have Community Development Director Matt Cox to present information on 2 final plats on existing well sites within Trophy Club.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Like you said, this is the first of 2 final plats for tonight. Aspen Estates was formerly used as a gas well as 8H. The applicant is requesting to develop the property as 7 residential lots and then 2 common open space lots. And this will have a public cul-de-sac street serving each of those lots. The proposed final plat is zoned R12 and does meet all of the minimum lot sizes. They also meet the front, side, and rear setbacks. The minimum 6-foot high masonry screening wall will be required along any lots that have any side or rear yards that are contiguous to a primary collector or greater right-of-way. HOAs will be created in the final plat, and they will own, or they will maintain the common areas and lots. Full civils have been submitted, and they are under review. They are a separate submission for these final plats. The item has been reviewed by the town attorney. We had a special called meeting November 16th. P&Z unanimously recommended the final plats, subject to staff comments and the following conditions. Number one, the well identification numbers be included in the civil construction plans. Number two, the current ownership shall be correctly identified in title block, owner dedication, and owner certificate. Number three, plat numbers 4 and 7 shall identify the subdivision HOA as Aspen Estates at Trophy Club HOA. And then the fourth one was to come to some resolution for the 15-foot pipeline easement that's to be released or abandoned. The final plat has been updated since then and has addressed P&Z's comments 1 through 3. The applicant is currently researching the gas pipeline easement. They're looking at the expiration when those leases ended, and then also any other information that they can provide, and they said they would happily provide that to us. Staff recommends approval of the final plat. I'm here for any questions. Also, our town planning consultant, she's here, and also he's not here. Joshua is not here, the applicant. Did I overlook him?
No,
No.
I think
Okay.
someone waved, so. Sure.
I make a motion to approve the final plat for the Aspen Estates at Trophy Club, formerly Gaswell Site 8H, containing 3.37 acres of land located east of Bobcat Boulevard, south of Trophy Club Drive, north of Stratfield Lane, and southwest of Mossman Lane.
Second.
Okay, that was 8H, was
Yes.
That was 10.
10 is 7H, right?
10 is 8H.
10 is 8.
Oh, I have, this is, okay, mine's transposed. Okay, I have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Lamont and a second by, was by Councilman Sheridan. Yeah. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor? And any opposed? And that passes. So on 11, mine's mixed. See. Okay, item number 11, Mr. Cox.
Okay, I'd like to introduce Helen Eve Beadle. She is our planning consultant, and so we thought we'd tag team these two for this evening.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This one is very similar to the previous one. This is the Falcon Estates, and it's located south of Kent Street and west of Trophy Club Drive. It too is served by a cul-de-sac. It has been reviewed per your subdivision regulations. The Planning and Zoning Commission reviewed it in November, and we are under the shot clock, so that's why you all are seeing it this evening. We have to act on it within 30 days. Staff recommends approval of it as it's presented. The applicant has taken care of the review comments from staff as well as the Planning and Zoning Commission. It has been brought up at about an older, the 15-foot pipeline easement. We understand that there's not any pipeline or equipment in that, and they're trying to determine if it has been abandoned because the lease term expired. However, we did not find anything in the regulations that said that if there's an easement that it must be abandoned if it's not being used. So we feel comfortable for it. The easement is in a common area lot, so if someone's not going to be building a house on it, so it's if it's going to be anywhere, that's where it should be. I'd be happy to answer any questions, and we respectfully request approval.
Anyone have any questions?
All right, I'll make a motion. Motion to approve the final plat for the Falcon Estates at Trophy Club, formerly the Hathorn Estates at Trophy Club, and Gaswell Site 7H, containing 3.692 acres of land located east of Mona Vale, south of Kent Street, and west of Trophy Club Drive.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Alon and a second by Councilman Flynn. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, and that passes. Thank you. Okay, for item number 12, we have Town Manager Carroll to present information from a traffic study that was just completed around Byron Nelson High School.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight, this evening, we have a presentation that's going to be done by Tignon Perkins, who completed the traffic study for us. But a little background on this. Back in 2021, we did our last citizen survey, and the number one issue for the town was traffic. It was mentioned several times there, and if you've ever been through the Byron Nelson corridor anytime between 7 and 8 o'clock in the morning or 5 and 6 o'clock in the evening, you understand completely where our citizens are coming from on that. So we have some peak time hours where we have some real issues. So council gave permission to staff to go forward and get a traffic study completed. We had a traffic study that was done in 2018 on a couple of these intersections. So Tignon Perkins had done their homework a little bit, and they used the 2018 study. We updated the numbers in that study and then added another intersection or two with it to come up with the results that you saw before you in the packet. So at this point, I'd really like to call Tom Rutledge from Tignon Perkins up to give us a little update on the traffic study and how things turned out for us.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you, Wade. Good evening, Mayor, Council. Good to be here again before you tonight. So I think Wade's done a good job introducing this, plus I know in your packet you have a lot more detailed information. So I'm not going to revisit a lot of history and go in a lot of detail. I'm going to go right to the presentation, show you what this looks like, and then if you have questions, then I'll do my best to answer those questions for you tonight. I also have Phil Overgees with me here tonight, one of my engineers that's very familiar and worked on this. So if there's things there I can't answer, I may bring Philip up here to help me with that. So the study locations that we were asked to look at, as you can see up here, is Bobcat Boulevard and Trophy Club Drive, and then Parkview Drive, Bobcat, and then also Bobcat and Marshall Creek Road. And then, of course, Byron Nelson High School is to the north of Bobcat, and we realize that along with the middle school and then South Elementary, those are your big traffic generators there. So we, as we put in these options, we looked at three different options. One was not to do anything. What's that look like? If you put in a traffic signal, and then option three, a roundabout. Many, many years ago, when the Highlands was coming into town, when all that development was occurring, a TIA, or traffic impact analysis, was done to look at Trophy Lake Drive and Trophy Club Drive. And as a result of that development, that TIA said you'd need to put a signal there. And at that time, with that current council and staff, nobody really wanted a signal. They didn't want to have a signal that might not always function and operate, excuse me, and also just could create still some delays. So the option was presented and approved, and obviously what we have there today is a roundabout at that intersection. So that's just a little history of how we got to the roundabout that we have there today. So you look at Trophy Club Drive and Bobcat Drive, Currently, there's just the one stop sign that all the traffic stops at Bobcat, and then you have continuous traffic northbound on Trophy Club Drive. And then that option one of no improvements. So we tried to lay these out just as some basic pros and cons. Continuous traffic flow for Trophy Club Drive, no maintenance costs. Those are obviously your positives. And then the downside, the cons to that are longer delays for Bobcat, the potential of right turn angle crashes if cars pull out and get sideswiped, and then the difficult for pedestrians to cross without school guards. And of course, this option, by leaving that alone, is there is no cost. So option two is then you look to put a signal in there, which would be a three-way signal. And signals are a little more sophisticated nowadays. They're all video control with the cameras that control those, so they read traffic and then computerized. And so when you look at the signal option there too, the advantages of that is to increase traffic safety at the intersection, improve efficiency for pedestrians and vehicular traffic, reduce the frequency and severity of right-angle collisions because you're always going to have a protected movement, provide for orderly movement of traffic, and then interrupt the heavy traffic in intervals to permit other vehicles or pedestrians to cross. The con to that downside is you have increased installation and maintenance costs. So once you have a signal, then you're always going to have that maintenance cost for that. So as all signals do, sometimes they go out if you lose power. Then you have that backup. They'll either flash or sometimes you can just totally lose power and not have a signal. And then you've got to have police officers there to control traffic. And then the other side is people just run red lights. And so you have just the disobedience of traffic signals. That's just a fact. Nowadays, when we're looking at signals at each intersection, a signal here would cost somewhere around $500,000 there for that. So that is the one at Trophy Club Drive and Bobcat. These other intersections are essentially going to be the same as you look at those, but in doing that then with the roundabout option, this is what that would essentially look like. Very similar to what we have at Trophy Lake and Trophy Club Drive today. Probably the main difference you have here is Bobcat currently today is not a median divided roadway. It is 4-lane undivided. Or Trophy Lake, Trophy Club, you have that T intersection. Both of those streets are median divided. And we had more room there, and so it's a little bit different design, but essentially it functions the same here with the movement of 2 lanes for both directions for both streets. So then with the roundabout, that option you have there is you always have that continuous flow. Everybody's probably driven through the one you have today. The delay reduction is certainly minimized. Provides traffic calming, so reduces the speeds through there, and then reduces the overall number of crashes and crash severity. So you do have accidents in roundabouts, and they're not going to eliminate that. But if you do have that, it's a result of someone not yielding, and it's just usually a side-type crash. And so statistics have proven that severity for those crashes are definitely less, and they're more fender-bender type accidents. The downside is the increased installation cost. I think Wade's provided a lot of that information to you, and I know there's a lot of financial backup to some of that. And then it also requires acquisition of additional right-of-way at the intersection because of expanding that. It goes beyond the current right-of-way, so we'd have to get additional right-of-way. And then it does marginalize pedestrians, handicap, and bicycle traffic. So some of the things we would have to do, like we have at the current roundabout, is you want to put refuse islands in so that when you've got that much crossing and with that movement, so pedestrians cross, that's always a sensitive thing. And so whether you paid attention to it or not, at the one at the intersection that we have today at Trophy Lake, those crossings, that's actually a safe routes to school and how we're handling that there. So I'm going to pause right there for just a second. That was a lot on that one intersection before I go to the other two. Is there any questions that you might have on this one?
Do we have to move any pipes, water, sewer, electrical, gas?
Yes, sir. Great question, Mr. Lamont. Yes, sir. So there are, as you can imagine, there are utilities in there, both water, sewer, utilities. There is a gas line there, the gas distribution line there, as well as franchise utilities. So we haven't done, a subsurface underground engineering of that to determine the extent of that. But we did look at the records from the Highlands, so we had an idea about what that might look like when we prepared cost estimates. So we've identified that, yeah, you'll have some utility adjustments in there. And that cost estimate that we put together when we worked with Wade and his staff, we tried to account for that in the cost.
So the cost has significantly increased. The Trophy Lake roundabout, that was between, depending on how you look at the roads, that was between 1.2, 1.5 million. But the road went all the way down to Durango that was replaced, to the bridge by Tom Thumb.
Yep.
And I think a little bit of Trophy Lake Drive was done to Village Trail, I believe. So
That's right.
we're looking at least 3.1?
I'm trying to remember that estimate we had in there, Wade.
I believe for this roundabout is actually 3.6.
Something like that, yeah. Now, I will add, because of knowing the history of the Trophy Lake one of the things that we did at that time was there was a lot of pavement in Trophy Club Drive that was really deteriorated, and we could have stopped it shorter, but the council and staff at the time said, you know what, if we're tearing this up here, putting in all this new pavement roundabout, let's extend it and capture pavement that we're going to have to come back in a very short period of time and replace anyway. And so we did extend it for that reason.
It went all the way to Durango.
It did. And it was, they determined that that was the most efficient way to handle it at that time.
So, well, it's probably not your area, but the funding, if we started this before, we're looking at a federal grant, because Denton County, we started the roundabout, and we ran into a situation where we'd already expended some monies, and we couldn't take that out of the bond money. Now, we put it somewhere else, but that's neither here nor there. But the federal grant money, would we lose any funding as far as percentage-wise if we went ahead and started it before we got the funding approved?
Any dollars that we spend, it's a great question, Councilmember Lamont. Any dollar that we spend towards this project on a grant that we have applied for, we could not get reimbursement for those dollars. We have to be awarded the grant first before we can use those dollars towards that project.
Any timeline on that? Because this needs to get done.
Yes, sir. No, the grant, they're supposed to start letting municipalities know. The federal government is supposed to start letting us know in January, February timeframe. But how long that's actually going to take, we don't know. They're supposed to start in January.
Councilman Flynn.
And maybe this is more of a Wade question. So one of the things, can you go back a slide, you talked about was there would be easement, go back one slide if you don't mind. Yeah.
This one?
No, that one right there. So we talked about the additional costs, right, for easements and whatnot. Is that built into your estimate already, or would that be above and beyond? Like if we had to go to the church, and would there be costs associated with that?
The 3.6, I believe we had that in the estimate. Now, it's a rough estimate. We don't really, because the conversations with the church have just begun. I say they've just begun. Yeah, we've been working on it a long time, but we're just now to the negotiating phase and are ready to move to the negotiating phase if we choose to make this happen.
Okay.
Councilman Sheridan.
Okay, I have some more questions, but some of them are for Wade. Let's concentrate on this one intersection. One of the things I don't like about our current roundabout is where the pedestrian crossings are. They're right there, okay? And sometimes, especially if you were going to decorate or do something to the interior of that circle, you don't see that until you're already around it, and it gets kind of complicated. So where, using this type of design, where are you going to put the pedestrian cross? Can you highlight that, or?
And do we still have Councilwoman Oldham with us?
Yes.
There she is. Okay. I just want to make sure I can see her if she wants to speak. Thank you.
So.
And I will.
Okay, good.
In other words, Tom, are they going to be inside the roundabout similar to what we currently have?
They would be. You would be crossing, and in this crossing scenario here, you'd tend to cross back in here, and then this median was where you'd create the refuge. So if somebody's crossing from here over to here, they get across, and then they're protected.
See, to me, that's past the roundabout, not in the roundabout. So
No.
I go along with that, yeah.
Correct. And the same scenario here.
Over
this
here,
cross-
you're outside the roundabout to get there. Okay,
Yeah.
that answered my question.
And there's a strategy to that, to where, to your point, it's always about sight distance, to make sure your drivers, as they come around, can pick up that line of sight to where that pedestrian's going to cross.
Right, okay, good, thank you. My next question, the slip road is coming out.
Yep.
Right now, they currently are turning to the right.
Correct.
Right, there is no left turn there. They currently have traffic to look at. Is there any additional issues with that slip road being there when you do a roundabout? Or is it going to be just like it is right now?
It'll be the same, because we're not changing really the traffic movement in that traffic for that slip road. That movement on Trophy Club Drive is still going to be going through there, and they're still going to be stopping and yielding. So they'll still be able to see it. It doesn't change anything.
Okay, good. I was up until today, I was looking at the 2018 design. Oh, okay. Now I look at this 2022 design. Which landowners are involved in this as far as acquisition? There's the church.
So you have the church here, and then you do have this area up here at this corner.
See, that would be the HOA, but I couldn't see. Are you getting into the gentleman's, or excuse me, that residence lot right there on the corner?
We probably won't know that, Councilman, until we get the final drawings in. This is just a rough sketch of what it's going to look like. I mean, I say rough. These gentlemen do their homework. But until it's truly designed, we won't have the exact measurements to know. But right now, we estimate that we will not be in his yard, that we would just be in the HOA.
In the HOA,
property.
okay. Continuing on with that thought, so you're going to wait for the prelims do you wait for the prelims to even start any acquisition conversation?
I think we have to make the introductions, and we have to start down that road a little bit. But obviously, we won't know how much we need to take ask for until we get a better design. And I'm sure these gentlemen can work on that early in the design so that we can get that information quickly before the design has to come to a complete conclusion to speed the process up.
Okay. And there is an estimate of acquisition costs in the budget that we're being presented with.
Yes, sir. It should be there, and if it's not, I can get that to you right after this.
Well, we're dealing in total sums. I just want to, this is not something that's going to be hit later on.
Yes, sir.
The other is, who does the acquisition? Does the town, does the engineer, do we have a third party do it?
It would either be a third party or the town. It would take care of it ourselves, depending on.
Okay, so a third party, you're talking 20, 25,000, that would be in the budget?
Not for a third party. Right
Not
now,
for a third party.
Right now, the budget just holds an acquisition of land, and the town take care of the staff.
Right. Okay.
One thing about that, Mr. Sheridan.
Yep.
Falling back on the Trophy Lake Drive roundabout, so we did have some right-of-way acquisition that we had to do there, and some easement things that we did.
Mm-hmm.
What that process that we used at that time is that we engaged an appraiser, and they did an appraisal of the value of the land, and then there was negotiation that took place between the town manager and that property owner, based on that appraisal, and so that it was negotiated.
But the engineer, y'all were involved in it.
We were.
My idea is, I don't, not to be derogatory, I don't think the town has the professional capability of doing a land acquisition of this magnitude.
So we have
But
right-of-way
the engineer may, or a third party would.
We have right-of-way agents on staff. We do a lot of
That's what I
test
meant.
work that
Yeah.
require right-of-way, and so we have that capability and are used to dealing with the property owner.
Mhm.
And it always starts with the appraisal, because that's our baseline.
Yeah, it gets very complicated. I'm not trying to.
But there is a strategy to that, and we still continue to work with Wade on that as we move
Okay. And if we approve this tonight, do we have a say on that? In other words, I'm going on the line of, yeah, I like this, I'll go with it. But I sure want to insist on having a third party or an engineer or a professional do the land acquisition. That would be kind of consistent to my vote.
Sure. So what we're looking for tonight is a healthy discussion and some direction from council. There's nothing to actually vote on tonight. But what I'm looking for from council is whether or not you believe that the roundabouts are the right direction for us to go, or if you feel like signalization is a better outcome for us. And then also whether we would like to start with one at a time, which is what staff is recommending, or whether we wait until we get the, because we have the funding now to be able to start one, but we would require the federal grant to start the second. So it's just whether or not, how long do we want to wait? Do we want to do two at one time? Do we want to do just one at a time? Those are the kind of the big questions that we're looking for.
Those are my other questions. You already know that.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you, Tom. You've answered my questions. You're welcome. Appreciate it.
Councilwoman Oldham, did you have anything?
Yes, I do. Tom, on the rendition on option 3 now, it has changed quite a bit from what we saw in the 2018 study. The 2018 study actually looked like it was going to move into that slip street that we had right there.
That's right.
So you have purposely, have you changed the scope of it, or have you just shifted it?
No, ma'am, I'll tell you, when we did the 2018 study, in all honesty, when we kind of dropped a more generic roundabout in there as a representation, because it was more based on the study than actually the real detail of the design. We felt like now that we were moving the ball forward and getting in a little more in the detail to help Wade identify right-of-way taking or acquisition. So we went in and really tried to tighten this up. What would this really look like? How would it really work? With the idea of, hey, let's do everything we can to minimize impact. And so this represents a more detailed design of what the roundabout would really look like.
So we're looking at land right-of-way acquisition only from the homeowners association and the church, not even going into their parking lot, just moving more or less. And you may have to bring up that option 3 for me again, because I don't have it on my backup. Just the church on their grass area, not going into their parking lot.
That's right. They
what-
do have a
what I'm
sign
thinking?
there and landscaping, so I don't want to oversimplify what that might do there for the church. But as we looked at it, you're correct. It's to stay out of the parking lot. And then
Okay.
there'll be some things there with the signage and landscaping that's there today.
All right, and with your right-of-way agents on staff, then you would be able to start that initial property owner's rights, Bill of Rights, and get that to them, and then
That's right.
you'll get a commercial appraisal for both the landowners, which would be one appraisal for the tract owned by the homeowners association and one appraisal for the tract owned by the church.
That is right.
And is that built into your estimate so far? Are those appraisals built into your estimate?
No, ma'am, they are not.
Okay. So that would be over and above what we're anticipating now.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Great.
I would just start the ball rolling. I would support and recommend that we do the roundabouts, but I would also say we do one at a time.
And Wade and I talked about that, and I agree. There's a lot of reasons there, but it would be a nightmare for you if we tried to build 2 at one time. I mean, it just
I think our
I just can't
citizens
imagine
would
you-
revolt.
Well, and
I just can't imagine
the
trying
businesses,
to
I mean, the business interruption, I think we'll have some learning from the first
Plus the
one.
school.
And the school and the businesses,
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Yeah, and the length of time, as anyone that was here when we built the one at Trophy Lake and in Trophy Club Drive, I mean, you go back that far, and the amount of traffic we had then was a lot less than we have now. This is near a high school, and the traffic has increased. And you're going to have to keep traffic open while you build it, so it takes longer. People are going to live through the construction longer, and the frustration will be greater if you try to build two at one time. It's just not a good idea.
Especially those areas, Parkview, Marshall Creek, and Bobcat and Trophy Club Drive, those are the worst. And to do two was just pretty much out of the question, in my opinion. And I think, of course, with funding as well, we have the funding to do one now, whereas we have to wait for the federal grant ask for later for another one. And also, as Wade and I have talked, doing the one here will mitigate traffic probably on Parkview and Marshall Creek, depending on what we do with the lanes there as well. I know there's been a lot of chatter online about the roundabouts, but one of the hottest topics of the town survey that was distributed to every household, I believe, right, Jill? Distributed to every household, whether it was filled out or not, I think it was the hottest topic was traffic mitigation. So, and we listened, we did the other survey, and these are the options, and thank you for the study you provided and all the detail in it. But that was the hottest topic, was traffic mitigation. So that's what we're trying to do here, is mitigate traffic. And yes, it's going to be painful. We all wanted fiber internet, and that's been a little painful, but, you know, you have to go through a little of that for the outcome that you want. This, no doubt, will be very painful, but then you have to look at the rainbow or the light at the end of the tunnel, which is mitigating traffic, which is going to be needed. We just approved 2 final plats for even more development and a little more traffic. So I do think this is a good place to start. And if our residents will just bear with us through the process, if this gets approved, I think everyone will be happier in the long run for sure. Councilman Sheridan, you have something else?
Just the mayor addressed already that there's a lot of residences know what we're planning on doing and talking about.
Mm-hmm.
How long does it take to build a roundabout?
Well, that's
Which comes to what we were just talking about.
It's a roundabout number.
Right. Okay.
Man, I wish I'd have thought of that. That's a great,
that
great
was
response.
good.
We did talk about that internally, and I told Wade we'd want to allow for about a year, and then he fell out of his chair when I said that.
So you talking about from
about
engineering or for construction?
Construction.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is back to Mr. Lamont's question about utilities. You got to go in there and clear utilities, adjust them, and get those where they've got to be. And so that process has to happen while construction or traffic is going on.
Right.
So you get that done, and then you start building this circle in these pieces of a pie. You're doing sections of a pie, and you got to detour traffic around, just like we did on the Trophy Lake one.
Right.
And it does take time.
So anybody living on Roseville is going to expect their traffic to increase?
Yeah.
Man,
You would have to bring that up.
she's still in her chair, though. So that's good. And I'm sure you do it in such phases where, I mean, you try to have the least impact as you can. Obviously, it's going to be impacted, but...
That's right.
Councilman Boyd.
Yeah, Mayor Fleury touched on this point a little bit. Is there a scenario, or is it possible that if we just did the first, like kind of where we're headed, that the traffic flow could improve, it's going to improve, so dramatically that maybe we relook at the second, the need for a second roundabout? I mean, is that not one of the advantages of, let's see what happens when we improve that area?
Yes.
And that, which will, improve it downstream as well, you would think.
No, I think and I thought about that as we were looking at this, knowing, well, we're going to do one. Then the question would be, okay, depending on how much you want to stretch this out, you could build this one, let it get built, and then watch it for a year, update traffic counts, look at that, and then you start the design on the other one, and then you've taken the project, and the length of getting all of that addressed is going to take twice as long. Or do you get this one designed, get it constructed, and while this is being constructed, make the decision to go ahead and start the design on the second one. So when this is completed, let that traffic calm down, get settled in, and then you're set to start construction on the second. So there's different ways to look at that. It just depends on how you guys want to stretch this out. Because you could, theoretically, if you did all three, you could stretch this out for 5 or 6 years. Just depends on if you want to do one, wait, and then study it again, and then make a decision on the next one to do, and then design that, and then move forward, and then you can see how that timeline can get stretched out. So it just depends on how you want to strategically approach it.
And I know you had spoken to Councilman Beach about some different ideas coming off the Parkview, Marshall Creek area that.
Yes, ma'am. There's some operational things that we can try once the first roundabout is completed. We could use police officers possibly, or some cone systems and police officers in order to force traffic in a certain direction, kind of like we do at the end of the 4th of July event. That helps the traffic just continue to move and clear. One of the thoughts or ideas was, if you're coming off of Parkview, force all traffic to turn right during those high traffic time periods. They would, instead of being able to take that immediate left, if you look at the traffic study, that's the longest wait time at that intersection, is waiting for a left-hand turn where you're having to cross that westbound or eastbound traffic on Bobcat. So you're waiting, it's over 200 seconds. I think it was close to 280 seconds, I believe, or 260. And so when you're trying to turn, if you're coming out on, where's my mouse? There it is. When you're coming out here, if you forced everybody to go right, it's only about 125, 150 yards down to the roundabout. So you could force them all to go right. Oh, that's a great picture there. So you can see Parkview here. You could force them to turn right, go down this way to Trophy Club Drive, do the U-turn there, and come back. So they end up getting the direction that they wanted to go. They'd have to come down and go through a roundabout there in order to get that done. That's one option that could help us in the interim. That's something that we'd be willing to try. I like the idea of having a police officer out there for a little while and trying it, and for a month or two. And if that doesn't work, then we kind of back off and kind of restudy this again, and maybe have these gentlemen come out and do another traffic count and see what's happening. The issue with delaying this for a long time, in my opinion, is after seeing the traffic counts, because of the school locations and because of the populations in the school, you're not going to change those counts that much. The majority of this area is already built out. There's not going to be too many more homes built in. We're going to have a few more homes with the well sites getting finished out. But the school is about as large as it can be. I think we added 330 students to Byron Nelson High School this last year, and about 170, I believe, to Medlin. So that population has grown to the point to where they're about as full as they can possibly be. We did an addition to Beck a couple of years ago, which is also on Parkview, where they added 2 more classrooms onto Beck. So I think the schools are at capacity, so you're not going to see a lot of difference in the traffic. You're going to have kids in there and kids getting dropped off every single year. So there's not going to be a lot of change in the traffic numbers at these intersections. It just comes down to how we manage those numbers during those peak time hours. And one of the things that was, when I was looking at the traffic study, when you take an initial look at that, boy, you start thinking things like, why in the world would I spend this many millions of dollars for a problem that's such a short period of time twice a day? But Tom kind of enlightened me to a great observation that a lot of our citizens, this is the only times of the day that they ever go through these intersections. So they feel that traffic. And they're going to continue to respond to these surveys and continue to respond to council, continue to respond to staff, if we don't do something at these intersections to move this traffic along and cut these wait times out. So I really see that the need is there. It's a lot of money. It is. And it's something that we have tried hard to get some grant funding to pay for. And if we achieve this federal grant for the Vision Zero, all three of these will be able, or two of these will be able to be paid for with no dollars used from taxpayers, which is outstanding. But if we don't get the grant, then we can go forward with one without affecting the budget, which is great because of the fiscal responsibility that the staffs previously and our current staff has in place. We've been able to build the general fund to a place for just this occasion that we knew was coming, that we could use some of those unassigned general fund dollars to help with these large projects.
Thank you. Councilman Monger.
I'm in favor of the roundabout idea, but my question is, why would you not go first at Parkview instead of going down to Trophy Lake Drive? Because if the issue is turning left onto Bobcat, that roundabout would resolve that issue.
Yes, sir, and it's cheaper a little bit. But the problem that we see with that is that if I put a roundabout at Parkview, I've solved one problem. There's a very good chance that if we put a roundabout down at Bobcat and Trophy Club Drive, we could solve or at least lessen the problem at Parkview through some operational practices.
Except that all the people that are turning left there are now going to have to compete with the same traffic.
That's true.
That's coming to turn left. So, I mean, you're going to have, that roundabout's going to get
It's going to get busy.
And if you look at what happens over by Tom Thumb, people don't understand that you zipper in and you slow down and you let cars merge in, right? And they go bumper to bumper, and then somebody stops, and then traffic gets backed up all the way to 114. So
roundabouts have their issues, right? They do. So do stoplights, that's true. One of the things that we looked at trying to slow that traffic down, and because of the space that we had, just like Councilmember Odom had realized, you know, that roundabout doesn't go as deep because we offset it to the right a little bit. And that's one of the things that TNP had told me about as well, that's one of the things they can do to try to slow that traffic is you offset these roundabouts a little bit, which causes those vehicles to slow down a little bit more as they come to that intersection, which builds some bigger gaps for people to jump into through the roundabout. So we're trying to foresee and use this space as best we can, but also kind of foresee some of these traffic issues as well, and trying to mitigate those as much as possible. I'm afraid there's not a perfect scenario without us putting in 4 more lanes, and there's just not room to do that here.
Anyone else? Okay. So it sounds like nothing to vote on, just to give direction to just continue with the staff recommendation?
No, excuse
Or
me,
separate-
you're going to continue. You just did one roundabout.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Right, and I'll run these.
Excuse me, Mayor, I didn't mean to
Okay, no,
interrupt
that's
you.
okay.
You're okay. I'll do that real quick. Because of how complex that was, I thought I'd cut to the chase a little bit on that. So looking at Bobcat, then when you get to the same scenario is going to apply to every 3, the pros and cons. So keeping that intact, just looking at the exhibits there. So this is the one where Parkview comes in to Bobcat, and then here you would have right away here. This is City Park here, and then this is Northwest ISD up here. We've not approached anyone about this, including the district. This is what that would look like, and so it's fairly well centered up at that intersection, and so that's what that roundabout would look like there.
Okay.
And then when you jump down to Marshall Creek, kind of similarly, you really have more room than any of the intersections there because of what the open space that you've got, especially at these corners, and then it's less impactful coming in. You'd still have some right away. You'd have to go into the high school.
And having Parkview and, excuse me, Mayor, having Parkview and Marshall Creek that close to each other, that's not a big issue.
I don't think it's an issue there. I mean, it's one of those things where you're still keeping the traffic moving, and so it's not unusual there to have that.
Okay.
there's some roundabouts in Keller that are that close.
Yeah.
There are.
Haslett.
Yeah. South Lake.
Okay.
Mr. Sheridan, also, if you look at the traffic study, when you look at the adjusted numbers for the roundabouts, I believe those are all studied with the 3 roundabouts in place.
Yeah.
So those numbers take into account multiple roundabouts there.
Anyone else?
Okay, so just to clarify, the direction that I'm receiving from council is to move forward with the direction of roundabouts and not stoplights. Is that correct? I'm seeing lots of nods. And then we're looking at doing the 1 roundabout first. We'll probably wait until the February timeframe and hope to get that grant so that we can spend as many of those dollars as possible. And then we will work towards the Trophy Club Drive and Bobcat intersection first.
So I'm not clear. So I understand waiting that grant, but we may or may not get that, right?
That's correct.
Okay, so are we not talking about proceeding with the first roundabout regardless of what we're...
Well, we can. What staff will do at this point, with the direction received from council, is staff will work with TNP on a proposal for the engineering. We got to get the SUE done for the intersection, which is the underground survey, right? And then we also have to start getting the appraisals and those kind of things done. So there are some of those things that we can use some of the grant money we're receiving from Denton County on, so that we can start moving forward in that direction if council so chooses. But we're really going to have to get the proposal from TNP for the design aspect of this and the construction, the complete construction and design, and then we'll come forward to council with the project as a whole.
It's going to take that long anyway.
Sure, it's holidays.
I mean, it's already almost January.
At the risk of slightly complicating it, when we have the monumentation that's going in, if we only do 1 roundabout, would we put that monumentation on the 1 roundabout?
Well, with the monumentation, we talked about it being in the roundabout at Marshall Creek, right? So I think the monumentation would probably be done in the same manner. I think we start on 2 intersections at the very most and get those things to completion. I would hate to have every entrance into town under construction at the same time, even though it's going to be mainly in the medians. I think we start on the more prominent areas of town and we work our way there. And then by that time, we'll have made a decision on the roundabout there, and we can know whether or not that monumentation would go in the center of the roundabout or would it go into the open land to the right or left.
Those are in phases as well.
That's correct. That's correct.
Okay, anyone else?
I'm good.
Good.
Okay.
Good discussion.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. We
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Have a
Thank
good
you,
evening.
Tom. Good
Thank
to see you again.
You too.
Philip.
Have a Merry Christmas. Thank you.
Merry Christmas. Thank you. Item 13, Communications and Marketing Director Jill Lind has information about a very exciting project she's been working on to assist our local businesses with drawing more visitors to our town. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight I'm here asking you to consider the following proposal for a Visit Trophy Club program. This specific item is a council-driven one. As you have all previously requested, we look into ways to help Trophy Club businesses while also looking to see how we could potentially put the hotel occupancy use tax funds to use in ways that would be statutorily approved. What I'm about to propose to you accomplishes both of those things. This item meets the town's strategic objectives by fostering a business-friendly environment and delivering programs and services that increase citizens' quality of life. As leaders of our community, you're entrusted with strengthening Trophy Club's economic future. It's time to put deliberate and strategic efforts into marketing our businesses and our business community by aligning our dollars and resources towards creating a Visit Trophy Club program. Based on feedback we've received from our hoteliers and businesses, we're looking to create a program that can help us inspire target audiences to choose Trophy Club as the location of their next visit. In dedicating our efforts to this, we plan to generate additional room night revenue, as well as insert dollars into the business community, which will help boost the town's overall economic vitality. We've put together a plan for the Visit program, which includes focusing on establishing Trophy Club's place as a Texas tourism destination, putting an effort into blending our assets that we have by marketing our events, activities, parks, and businesses, and telling the stories about the great things that are available for people in Trophy Club. And finally, we want to focus on heads and beds, but Trophy Club is so much more than that. We want to harness these stories and experiences and share them with the day trip and transient travelers who will impact all of our Trophy Club businesses and who will hopefully become repeat visitors. So how do we achieve these goals? We do it by launching this visit program, but in order to do it right, there'll be some costs associated with it. And that's why staff would like to proceed forward by focusing on the following initiatives and dedicating funds to establishing this program. First, we'll ensure buy-in by finding opportunities through cooperative partnerships with our businesses and our hotels. Then, we'll provide a more visitor-friendly component to the website by making some enhancements to it. Then we'll work with an agency to create a strategically planned digital advertising campaign focused on those coming to the DFW area. And lastly, we'll dedicate staff time and efforts towards the program as it requires oversight on the implementation and the ongoing success. We want to make sure this program works for us and our businesses. So as I mentioned, for this program to be successful, we need buy-in from the businesses through cooperative partnerships with our hoteliers. Finding opportunities where we can perform as a united team to showcase Trophy Club will be important. While the town dedicates funds towards the visit effort, we need to work together cohesively so that everyone has some skin in the game. These cooperative efforts will work in a way where everyone has input in the different ways we can represent the town. Opportunities like attending lead-generating trade shows, exhibiting at events, or even through joint memberships to various organizations. This would be a collaborative effort where we all sit down together and discuss how we all can gain value in this program. But what do we do when we go to these events? How do we represent the town together? That's where we need to invest in a little extra zhuzh to the website. We need to create a better visitor experience for everyone. We would do this by adding what's called a portal page and a department header package to the website. These features will give the business community better representation with more information for those seeking it. The next piece of the puzzle includes finding who our audience is and then going after them. We need to establish a solid digital advertising campaign by working with an expert in the digital field. We would utilize their expertise and media purchasing power to put together a strategically targeted approach for marketing our community. I sent out an RFQ seeking qualified vendors specializing in strategic digital advertising and visitor evaluation. We posted it on the website, looked up hub vendors, researched agencies online, and asked for recommendations from my Tameo cohorts. After posting the RFQ and receiving a few responses, I've identified Octagon Media. Octagon has an array of experience in travel and tourism and has a solid digital foundation in online purchasing and visitor acquisition. Lastly, in order to manage a program like this, we'll need to dedicate staff time. I'm recommending that we reallocate part of my salary to the HOT Fund, as I'll be overseeing and managing the program, and use the general fund salary savings to bring our communications and marketing support specialist position on full-time. So I know you're asking, how are we going to pay for this? As you know, the town of Trophy Club levies a tax rate of 7% on our hotel sleeping rooms. Hotel tax revenue may only be used for expenses directly enhancing and promoting tourism in the convention and hotel industry, but it must also fit into one of the 9 statutorily provided categories included on the screen. HOT Fund revenues may also be spent on day-to-day operations, supplies, salaries, office rental, travel expenses, and other administrative costs, only if those charges are directly related to the promotion and servicing of these authorized expenditures. So again, these funds may only be used to promote tourism, convention, and the hotel industry. The revenues may not be used for general revenue purposes or general governmental operations. As of right now, our current HOT Fund balance is roughly $2.25 million. For your reference, I've listed the HOT Fund revenues and expenditures over the last 2 fiscal years, and you can see the full breakdowns in your packet starting from 2011. As you can see, funding this program from HOT is a justifiable and legal use of our tax collection. It's a good use of our resources to dedicate towards helping the Trophy Club business community. By establishing a program like this, I'm confident it will help boost the economic success of those who chose to make Trophy Club the home for their business. With that, staff is recommending the approval of the Visit Trophy Club program, which includes approximately $167,000 initial or first-year costs and approximately $127,000 of ongoing/second-year costs. And with that, I appreciate your time and consideration. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Well, thank you. As everyone knows, I've been a big proponent of this type of program to not only attract customers for our businesses, but to attract visitors to our town to enjoy all the amenities we offer. We're not just a golf course community anymore. We have our parks, we have our businesses, and like you said, between our natural assets and our commercial assets, we've evolved. We've evolved. Our community has evolved, and we need to advertise that to get people here. This is what hot funds are for. I mean, not just my opinion, but it's a fact, as your slide showed. We can't spend them on anything else. This is exactly the type of program, and to be quite honest, our businesses need it. COVID was just hurt everyone drastically. Luckily, most survived, and we are bringing new businesses in, as we saw tonight with Pet Bar. But our restaurants are suffering, especially during lunch times. I know our hotels are suffering. Our businesses are suffering. Even though they do have some busy times, we just need to get the word out. And I know you mentioned partnerships, cooperative partnerships. We're not even talking about just partnerships within Trophy Club. We're talking about partnerships in our neighboring areas as well. For example, the campuses like Schwab and Deloitte and Fidelity, who have all said they want to send their people over here because they're not going to do restaurant retail over there. They're going to concentrate on their campuses. And they mentioned in their speech at our Metroport Chamber meeting that, hey, we're relying, they named us Trophy Club in Roanoke to send our people to for those things. It's just we need to let them know that we're here, as well as other people that we're here. And we have become a destination and becoming more of a destination with our parks and recreation, with our motocross events as well, in our town events. My goodness, we were nominated to have the best event for our July 4th. We have our parades. We have so many events that are open to the public that's a draw as well. And just in my opinion, thank you so much for the presentation. I'm a big proponent of using our hot dollars what they're intended for and not just letting them sit unused. I know we're using some for our monumentation. I think this is the perfect use because that's what we want to do. Heads in beds, customers in our businesses, visitors to our town. So thank you very much. And everyone wants to speak. Councilman Flynn, you're number one on that.
So let me echo what Mayor Fleury said too. Agree with that. We have a lot of money in the quote unquote rainy day fund. Well, it's not necessarily raining out there, but
well, there was a tornado.
Yeah, but the funds are there for a reason, and you've come up with a spectacular idea. I do want to talk a little bit. Can you go back and talk about the expense, the personal expense side? You said a portion of your salary, which would be dedicated toward that.
Yes.
It would be whatever a proportional amount of time you spend.
Yeah. So I'm roughly estimating it'll be about 50 to 60% of my time, especially in the beginning. So if you were to take that, 55, 58%, move that over to the hot fund, and then we've talked about maybe year two changing that a little bit, and because I would maybe be able to take some of those assignments and duties and split them with the specialist position in a different way. So we can look at that too. But that's kind of the number we're thinking is about 50 to 60%.
So that portion would be taken out of hot funds,
Correct.
Allowing salary savings to bring on our part-time.
Correct.
Second thing is you talked about skin in the game, right? I'm all for that as well.
Yes.
In your view, what does that look like? Does it mean money? I mean, I know it means participation. I know it means input, but does it mean, money from these businesses or not necessarily?
Maybe it's kind of hard to say. I mean, when we talked to them initially about this, they were all excited and interested. I think that we'll have to put together some discussion points really with if they can do dollars, because some of them can't and don't have it, which is why us kind of chipping in and taking this big piece for them is something that they probably don't have the option to do. But maybe it'll be cooperative, like we split the cost of going to a trade show, and they buy in to go with us, and we represent together, versus them being able to go at all because they might not be able to. So I don't have an actual dollar number to what that might be. It might be in kind. It might be use of space.
Or it could be with hotels. Maybe they give a discounted rate, significantly
exactly.
discounted rate for an event when people are coming into town. They can't write a check necessarily, but that's their way of.
Yeah, in my experience with working with hotels, they often don't have a lot of marketing dollars to use. And so, leveraging some of that hot money back to them to help them market and promote their business or their hotel is exciting for them because it's something they haven't been able to do before.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Marner?
Well, three things. Excuse me. Octagon.
Yes.
Do they have experience with VR? Because
I don't have the answer to that, but I can find out.
I think that's something going forward when you look at Trophy Club Park and putting in the monuments, all of those, anything that we can do to get people interested in it.
Yeah.
If they could visit Trophy Club virtually, it might make them want to come in person. And the other thing that there's got to be a disc golf tie in there someplace, because if we held a disc golf tournament there, people would come. Right?
Yeah, for sure.
I'm not sure. I've played like 3 times. I'm horrible at it, but there are professionals out there. And
Yeah.
of course, the Parks and Rec maintains it's like the Pebble Beach of disc golf courses. So I think that's underutilized and could roll into this.
Yep.
The last thing is, do they still do sister cities?
That's
Yeah.
a great
have
question.
a sister city?
Yeah.
We do not have one in Trophy Club that I'm aware of, but they do still do that.
So something to consider as part of this program is maybe we identify a sister city overseas someplace. Maybe they'll come visit.
Work with them. Yeah, for sure. I like it.
Great. Mayor Pro Tem Lamar?
Should the council approve Octagon or have them make a presentation?
Well, we did an RFP, or RFQ, for this process, and this one is the cheapest, I believe, and the best bang for the buck according to staff. So in this program, if you're approving this tonight, then you are approving Octagon.
Okay.
But definitely part of that, when I spoke with them too, is having them come here and obviously see Trophy Club and get the feel for it, and our neighboring communities, so they know what we're working with and who our competitors are. And I think that would include meeting with council and having the opportunity to speak with each one of you and get your perspective as well. So we can definitely set that up too.
Okay.
What other cities or towns have they worked with?
Oh, I don't have the list in front of me, but I can get it for you.
Okay, thanks. Councilman Sheridan?
Okay. The Octagon is a Baton Rouge, Louisiana company.
It is.
And they're out of state.
Yep.
And their website and their stuff only talks about stuff that they've done in Louisiana. Now, they've done a variety of different towns.
Yes.
But I wasn't able to find anything out of state. Any concern over working with them? I mean, I'm old-fashioned. Of course, I'm not the oldest here, but I'm used to doing stuff, face-to-face, and I realize
Absolutely.
you're not. So
No, and
you
we had
address
that-
for the...
Yes, please. We had that conversation when I spoke with them. I do believe they've done some work in Texas. I can find out for sure for you. I don't have the list. But I don't have any reservations, especially kind of in today's day and age.
Digital environment.
Yeah, and previously in my experience when I worked with an agency for, 9 years, I believe, they were out of Oklahoma. So I'm kind of used to that way of working with them. We need their knowledge, and actually them being out of state is kind of perfect because we're targeting people who are coming to visit. So who better to work with than someone who's not from here, so we can get their
Non-biased
perspective.
third party. And actually,
Right.
didn't we run into going with more of a local company, conflict of interest?
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
yes, it would and competitive.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think it's an opportunity to get a unique perspective from them as well.
Okay. And then the next thing is you presented a budget, and what's the possibility of snowballing? Like, for an example, you suddenly mentioned going to conventions or going to events and stuff like that, and that's not part of this. I didn't see that, okay? But if, I like this. Don't misinterpret. It's just a matter of I'm somewhat skeptical about, all right, what are we going to do in 12 months and find our advertising budget suddenly going out of hand?
Yeah. I think,
Whichever. So,
no.
You follow where I'm going?
Yes. I think that component of it will be based on when we all sit down and talk, and that's that skin in the game conversation. Attending trade shows, and we've got some money budgeted already from HOT this year for some cost associated. I've always plugged it in every year. We just haven't utilized it. So we have some that we would cover. And then them chipping in some cash too for those types of situations, I think is where that partnership would come in.
Okay. And then you and I talked briefly about if I'm looking at these numbers, and these are kind of like they're estimates, but at the same time they're not to exceed estimates.
Yeah. Yes, I agree.
Did I hear that right?
Yes. So there's they broke up the contract for us with the marketing planning, the creative services, and then there's that advertising dollar amount, which will be along step by step with them. So we're not going to, approve things that are over what they've already estimated on there. And we can, the nice thing about digital is we can pivot when we need to. So we can, if something's underperforming or we're not getting any ROI on that, we can shift, and it may be cheaper. I obviously am not going to go over that number. I think that that's a hard stop for, especially going out of the gates the first few years. We need to really evaluate, but we're going to have approval of whatever purchasing they do.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah.
Councilman Oldham, did you have anything? Just want to make sure.
Yes, I just wanted to say that I'm for the concept. I've looked over the budgeting. I don't know what to expect on this type of budget, but it does seem to be realistic for what we're asking for, so I'm in support of it.
Thank you. Anyone else? Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the Visit Trophy Club program with amounts not to exceed $167,237.63 for the first year and $127,047.63 for the second year.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Lamont and a second by Councilman Monger. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? And motion passes. Thank you so much. I'm super excited. Thanks for all your hard work on this. Thank you, Wade. I know our business community is going to be very excited as well. It's definitely needed, and I'm so happy to see that we're finally getting out of the gate with it. So thank you very much. All right, the last item tonight will be the future agenda list. Mr. Carroll.
Good evening one last time, Mayor and Council. So on the future agenda items list, we've had one major change, and that has been that our obelisk for the Veterans Memorial is finally in the United States. And it's being shipped to the engraver now. We hope to have that here. It should be here by the end of this month. And Mr. Jaramillo, Tony, will be working with the engraver to get that thing installed as soon as he gets finished with it. At that point, we'll pick the appropriate time for the unveiling ceremony. We haven't decided exactly when that's going to be yet, but we want to make a party out of it for sure. So we're gonna have a big reveal. Yes, sir.
Can we put something out through the town and find out, do we have any families of missing in action or former POWs that live in the area?
Yes, sir, we'll do that. So with that, if there's anything else that you guys would like to add to the future agenda items, I'd love to hear that, and we'll start working on those immediately.
I would.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to, in June, we were looking at putting the Mud and Council Fire ILA on the agenda, and we thought it would be best to work with them, and I think they've basically ignored us. So I'd like to put that a joint meeting to understand, so they understand the Fire ILA, because they are totally misreading it.
Yes, sir.
We are responsible for fire services, and they claim we're responsible for the property. That's just not the case.
I'll second that.
Okay.
And I would suggest that we do it prior to, because you're going to have an election coming up. In fact, January 10th, we're having a meeting with by January 15th. I think that we should try and resolve it by then, or at least have the joint meeting.
If at all possible, I'd like to get our council retreat completed first, because I think there's some things that we need to hammer out as a council on the taking over of the fire department and making sure that's still the direction that we want to go.
Fair enough.
And how we wish to fund that project.
Fair enough.
So if we wait till immediately after that, we could hopefully maybe at the first meeting in, or sometime in early February, would probably be a great time for us to get together, if you don't mind waiting that long.
That's fine. I just...
What's the date of our retreat?
21st, I believe.
21st.
Correct, Anita? Okay. She's the boss.
So Wade, on that, obviously there's a lot of work that goes into the retreat. There'll be communication coming out about agenda items and,
Yes.
Suggested, okay. Yeah.
And I have already sent out an email to all council members, so if you have something that you would like to make sure that we're discussing at the retreat, please send that to me now as I'm beginning to work through the agenda for that.
Okay.
Anything else?
Anyone else?
Okay.
Okay. The time is now 8:41, and we'll recess into executive session. Pursuant to the following designated section of the Texas Governmental Code, annotated 551, the Town Council will recess into executive session to discuss the following. A, Section 551.071, to seek legal advice from our town attorney. B, Section 551.087, economic development negotiation. And C, Section 551.074, personnel matters.
Assume that wasn't too hard.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, there she is. Okay, we're back up. Ready? That's it. Greg. Okay, the time is now 9:14, and we're reconvening back into regular session. Item number 16, consider and take appropriate action regarding executive session items. Do I have a motion?
make a motion to appoint Eric Ransblend to the municipal court with alternate judges Greg Bernard, Allison Grant, Gillian Chanel, and Warren Bradley. I think that's good.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Lamont and a second by Councilman Monger. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? And that motion passes. I think that was 16 and 17,
18.
so we're on to 18.
Make a motion to appoint Amy Stacy to the Connectivity Ad Hoc Committee.
Second.
Who was that? Steve? Is that you?
No,
Okay. Motion by Mayor Pro Tem Lamont and a second by Councilman Flynn. Any discussion?
Couldn't wait?
No.
All in favor? Any opposed? And that motion passes. Thank you. Okay, is there anything else?
Motion to adjourn.
All right, I'll second that. All right. We're adjourning at 9.
That wasn't a whole mouthful. It was like 3/4 of a mouthful.
It just sounded like, that's Steve.
You would have been all right if you didn't make the